Hi guys, welcome to Chakra Sessions. I'm your host, Holly Jo Labbe, here with Star Nations Radio Network, broadcast through Be Live TV and Facebook. So welcome guys, glad to have you here with me this afternoon as we begin to explore some more of our expanded energy system. We're sort of in this time and space where it's time for us to tackle what is going on with our energy, how it's expanding, how it's evolving, and how do we manage it. Because managing can be the difficult part, right? How do we adjust our energy to be able to handle all the shifts and changes going on around us? So lovely to see you guys. Hi, Robbie. Nice to see you. Glad to have you in the house. Today the chakra sessions are really talking specifically about our heart energy, which is going to be so cool because so many of us have a heart and would like to open it more and to be able to experience more love and more joy. So that's what we're chatting about today. Hi, Neshi. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you in the house. So if you guys could help out by liking and sharing the broadcast so that people can, connect with us, that would be super cool. Hi, Christine. Good morning. Glad to see you. The deck is almost complete on my end. Just wanted to throw that out there. I think my team will have it done by Saturday. That's what it looks like. So just know that's it. That's in the works. And I'm so blessed that, I have a beautiful editor who's great energy, and she's agreed to help edit my books and the card deck to make sure that they're, all the punctuation is correct and whatnot. So I'm so excited for that. And I'm glad, Christine may be a part of that because her beautiful artwork seems to vibrate really well with the messages that are coming in for my new chakra deck. So how exciting. So we are in this space as a planet, as a group of humanity that there's a lot of shifting going on. I'm sure you guys have noticed different things that, it's always been the same way. And now it's like something happens. So you can't do it that way anymore. And I'm seeing it ripple through lots and lots of people. It may be a shift. That was cute. Yeah, I hope you have a full screen again. I had the black screen too. As soon as I showed Winnie the Pooh, my Winnie the Pooh cup, it went to black screen. So just comment and let me know if the screen is back up because it is here in the house. So I'm hoping you can still see me and hear me, or I'm back. It was very wild. It dropped me down into the lobby and then I had to come back up. Okay, good. Thanks. Yeah, I hope Christine says yes to full screen. So I'm hoping, Neshi, that you can see me now too. So just let me know. Yep. Good. All right. Phew. Yeah, my energy has been fluctuating a lot. And so I am having to, my way that things are getting upheaval right now is I'm having to learn to create new relationships with my technology. And that's just how that goes. And I think that my computer is just kind of letting you guys know that when I get back from my trip next week, the plan is to have the whole new production studio up and running. So that would be great. So thanks for guys for letting me know I'm back. So today we're talking about the heart. And, you know, my spiritual team, in particular the ancient one, as for those of you who, you know, check out our magazine, Star Nations magazine, in the upcoming issue for February, the Ancient One channeled a whole beautiful article about the layers and the dimensions of our heart. And in such a beautiful, simplistic way that I'm really glad my team wanted me to kind of give a little overview of that here in this show. And it'll give you maybe the motivation to pick up the magazine in February, because it's a useful tool. It's one that you will go back to again and again. At least that's how I've been feeling about the articles. They're more like a reference manual than a magazine. So the dimensions of the heart. Yes, right, Neshi? I just prepped your article for February. The Ancient One really shared some good info, right? I'm really excited about it. And it came through super duper fast, which is always a blessing when we're here on, you know, Earth time. You know, we have deadlines and things like that we have to meet. And sometimes my availability and my spiritual team, like getting on the same page, it has to happen in divine timing, right? So it was like, whoosh, thank goodness. So there are layers to our aura that surround and protect us. And each layer has a particular function, and it's connected to a particular chakra. But with the heart, because the heart is the energy that bridges our lower self or our survival body with our higher self, it has to have its own sort of like extra layer of vibration, an extra layer of protection. And, you know, they talk to me about the dimensions and the auric layers, and depending on whether you're seeing them in 3 dimensions or 4 or 5 will shift how they actually looked, which can be a little confusing. So the Ancient One, when we were speaking and having the conversation, it was really clear that, you know, it's time for us to kind of get some of this knowledge. It doesn't have to be like, you know, only the ones who have, you know, the wisdom to figure out the puzzle can know the secret, right? So the heart has the same layers that our energy system does. And it has one that's the physical layer. So it's all about the physical heart. And, you know, that part of you that's beating in your chest, spreading, you know, oxygen and blood throughout your system. And it works in tandem with your lungs. And those 2 sets of organs, like, they really keep us going, right? We need our, you know, the ability to breathe, and we need to have the blood flow through your entire system, because that is so crucial for us to even be here in this physical body. And so when we talk about the heart, a lot of people are thinking about the physical heart. And unfortunately, we call the heart chakra heart, and then people think they're one and the same. But the heart is the physical organ, and then the heart chakra is the engine that helps keep the heart running. So next she's reminding to like and share if you haven't already done so. Yeah, because there's some really cool information here. And it's so interesting that my team has decided to sort of up the level of teachings. And I know that they're prepping me for having a school online that's more in depth the way I do in person, because the transformational work is so necessary. And so some of the transformation for us occurs when we just know. If we know what's going on with our heart in all its vibrations, then we can start to work on how to clear it and how to manifest a higher vibration for ourselves. So in the physical heart, when stuff isn't working on our chakras, it's sort of in the heart chakra itself, it will start to drop down. So just imagine that there's 3, 4, 5 layers to your heart. And we're just going to talk about 4 today because that's plenty. Hi, Christy. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you here. So in the heart, with its layers, it has a physical layer, it has an emotional layer, it has a mental layer, like where the thoughts are all being processed, and it has a spiritual layer. So when the heart is the heart chakra is in its full energy, when it's acting and accessing its spiritual self, its spiritual layer, it is connected to our highest heart, which is located just above it in the sternum. And so some people call that the high heart. They call it the transcendental heart. And so my team, I'll talk about your higher heart chakra and your lower heart chakra. So the higher heart chakra is the one that's connected completely to universal consciousness. It is in complete unity with the universe within itself. It's that sacred connection to the divine, where there is no ego in there. The ego still exists, but it doesn't have a voice in the higher heart. Is the clearest way I can say that. So when we're in our spiritual layer of our heart, we can actually access that. And that's, when that's happening because you have a lot of empathy for other people. You feel the energy of the planet, of what's going on. You want to do your part to take action to help others. It's like when your heart is in a high vibration or a fuller vibration, because really it's fuller because all of the chakra layers are engaged. When we're in that fuller heart vibration, we can't help but want to help others. And we step into a level of how we're here to help in a bigger way. Let me just put it that way. So, we might help our neighbor, we might help a family friend, we might go volunteer, we might go protest something that's, not good for the planet. Or we might send funds to help people who are taking action on that thing that speaks to our heart. So when we have access to that vibration, we are really aware of everyone around us, and we are really in a space where we care. And unfortunately, most of us aren't there all the time. We get pulled down into worrying about things that have to do with our survival, and it's just harder for us to get there. So when our energy is in that spiritual sense, what pulls it down energetically is when we call in doubt. if we doubt something can happen, if we doubt our spiritual team is there, if we doubt that, the divine is even listening to us or helping us, we start to lose faith. And that's just the terminology we've used throughout the ages. And my team is working on a different word for faith because everybody has their own definition of that. So it's when we have this open, vulnerable trust with the divine. That's what I'm speaking about with faith, is that you don't even question, you just know. And when you're in that, I just know, then you're able to access the higher realms of your heart energy. When that doubt creeps in, when that trust is like, I don't know. And that happens from time to time when something, bad happens on the planet and we don't understand it, or we're, questioning it. Then our vibration starts to sink a little. And when it sinks a little in the heart, we end up in the mental layer. And if you think of it as you have suitcases, you have, this little messenger bag, right, in the spiritual realm. And when you drop down into the mental realm, you then pick up the mental bag too. Maybe this is more like a briefcase. So now you've got a messenger bag and you've got your briefcase. Now in this briefcase of mental thought patterns, this is when we get into a place where we can spin. I just keep seeing like this cyclo of thought energy just like going around and around and around. So in the mental place, if we are in clarity, we can understand how to take action with our heart in a loving and compassionate way. We are thinking of others. We might have a little bit of doubt creeping in, but we are, for the most part, stepping into our service, however we're meant to do that. And, you may be helping by building websites so people can find the information that they need. You may be helping by working at McDonald's and serving somebody a cup of coffee who needs to eat. We all help others when we're in our heart energy. We want to help others, even if it's holding the door for someone or putting your grocery cart away so that somebody else doesn't have to. It's that awareness. You're in a level of awareness. When we start to have trouble in the mental layer, it's when we start to focus on the beliefs that maybe we don't deserve love, whether it's for ourselves, from the divine. Sometimes we step into an energy of not feeling worthy, really. And so one of the biggest affirmations out there is that you can say over and over is, I am worthy of divine love. Because that helps keep that heart chakra just beating and open. And the problem is you have to believe it. But you know what it is, the more you say it, the more you start to trust it and you start to believe it. So when we have these thoughts of I'm not worthy, or I'm not enough, or maybe, I don't deserve, to be treated with love and respect, that starts to clog the mental layer. So the spiritual layer is out. The mental layer is the next layer in. And so all of the doubt that we had with the divine falls down. And then all of the worthiness and deservingness, then it gets too clogged. And so then it slides down. And when it slides down, it moves into the emotional layer of the heart. And we've all connected with that, right? Because the emotional layer of the heart holds on to our disappointment, our sadness, our grief, our shame. Shame's a big, big one in there. And sometimes even our guilt. And those are all thought, right? Like shame and guilt, that's a belief system. You believe you have something to be ashamed about. You believe you're guilty, and then it falls down and it starts churning the emotions of sadness and, worthiness even more. So you've added all this water to this, sort of airy thought idea, and it drops down, and now you're going to stir it up with the water. And this is when, one of the things that, I've just spent the last 3 weekends teaching all weekend long, how to release energy stuck in your heart. And for everybody, it's different. And so we did a lot of deep dives into the heart. So really dredging in there so we could move people into a higher, a higher frequency. And in the doing of that, right, it shifted the whole vibration of the school as soon as everybody felt they were in a fuller place. But the things that came up around grief is, what I gathered from different people is grief is another thing that we don't all define the same way. There are phases that we have to go through for a grief cycle to be complete. And grief is a cycle. It's not a one emotion. And that's when we run into trouble. So grief has, you have the initial sort of like shock where you go into a very primal fight, flight, freeze response. So however you deal with that shock, you will use one of those responses, because now when you have grief hit you, your sense of survival takes a hit and you get uncomfortable. And one of the big pieces of that is then where do you go from there? Do you go into the full sadness of the loss? Are you focused on the loss? You have to have some moment of like, you feel bad because you've lost something important to you. Whether it's, a person, or even if it's like your pet, or it could be like your car or your home, right? I mean, they're basic for your survival. So you can go through the, oh my gosh, and you're in grief, right? And who's allowed time to grieve the loss of their car? Not too many people. But it's, what helped you travel. It got you places. It gave you safety and comfort. And if you had an accident, now your sense of safety is shattered, right? So there's grief that has to release in there. And then there's this phase of anger. So anger and sadness go hand in hand. My team shows them as the flip sides of a coin. So if you're willing to experience your sadness, you often hide your anger. If you're willing to experience anger, you often hide your sadness. So allowing your emotions to flow and just be kind of lets you know where you're going and what you haven't uncovered, if that makes sense to you. So in the grief cycle, you need to go through the sadness and the anger, or you haven't done both sides. And sometimes the anger is at, how could this happen? Or the anger is, I can't believe, I have to go through this, or how could you do this to me? Whatever that energy is, you have to go through the anger. You have to go through the sadness, the shock, the sadness, the anger. And then when you've done that whole cycle, then you can go to a place of acceptance. But we can't have acceptance if we haven't done the other phases. And so when we're in the emotional layer of the heart, if there's any unprocessed grief, like grief that hasn't gone through all the cycles, it's sitting in there. And so, I talked about a messenger bag for your spiritual layer and a briefcase, which for some of you looks more like a giant suitcase, because if you're good at spinning and mental thought, you might have like, a 6-piece luggage set in there, right? Of crap that's been sitting there energetically, that's dropping down. And then the emotional layer is kind of like looking at all this baggage that just dropped in, and the fact that they've got like huge steamer trunks and, maybe a moving van. And you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all this? And so you start to go through this like emotional roller coaster. And when that layer gets too heavy, which is pretty, you can imagine could be pretty easy to happen, then it drops down into the physical layer. And when it drops into the physical layer, it starts to impact your actual organs that the heart is connected to. So it impacts the heart and the lungs in particular. So if you're having symptoms in your heart, like high blood pressure, low blood pressure, cholesterol, heart valves, arrhythmia, if you're having trouble with your lungs with asthma, or you've had bronchitis or pneumonia ever, if your oxygen count is low, anything, sleep apnea, all of those are things that the flow in there is not good. And so it means that if you have physical symptoms, you've got tons of baggage through all the layers above it. Does that make sense? So it's like the layers get so heavy they collapse down on top of each other. And the way to release some of the physical symptoms is to start removing all of the baggage from the layers above, so that our physical body doesn't have to process all of this old stuff. So, all right, let me go back to comments because I saw a number of them. All right, Violet, I struggle with the I'm not worthy of love. Now I have a positive response to that. Thank you. You are so welcome. That is one of the ones that comes up frequently. And sometimes it's not, I am not worthy of love. So you're just like, people attach love to other people a lot of times, and they think that the only way they can experience love is when they're connected to another. So that's why I like to use I'm worthy of divine love, because then that fills us with unconditional love. And we don't get caught up in the sense of we need somebody else to complete us. We're full without that. All right. I'm glad you learned something. John, great job. Neshi says, your car vehicle also gives us a sense of freedom as well. When we don't have our wheels and have to rely on other transportation, we worry about its reliability, safety, loss of freedom, right? Think about all the elders, right? Who, you've had all this freedom all of your life, and you get to an age where your reflexes or your eyesight or your hearing is like, nope, you can't drive a car anymore. It's devastating for a lot of people because that's their lifeline. That's how they moved. And I can remember back to being a kid and couldn't wait to be able to drive a car. Thank goodness I had a bicycle so that I could get a little farther than my feet would take me, right? But the car was like such a big symbol of independence and freedom. And when you lose that, even if it's temporarily, you get claustrophobic. I went without a car at one point. Oh, Lord, at least 6 months, maybe it was 9 months. And other members of my family had a car, but it put me in this place where I couldn't just go when I wanted to. I had to ask, I had to coordinate and ask permission. And it was just brutal because I felt less than without my car, right? But I was in a space at that time of less than. That, well, maybe I don't deserve a car because, or whatever. I don't know. I can't clearly remember the thinking, but I just remember the thinking, and it was spinning, and I felt like a hostage in my own home, and it's very difficult because I've worked from my home for a long time. So I didn't have the same need to have a car as my husband going to work or my kids going to school and going to work. They had to be out. For me, it was, going to the bank, going grocery shopping, going to appointments, and then, then you don't even have lunch with friends because you feel weird asking them to pick you up. It was a very big learning experience for me, but it also gave me a lot of empathy for people who can't drive, because there's a lot of connection to that, and if you don't live in a city where there's public transportation, it really can impact you. So all of these layers around our heart are meant to shield and protect us. And the more that we can release the thought patterns and the beliefs that weigh us down, weigh the heart energy down, the more we can sort of freely step into the full vibration of our heart when it connects to our higher self. And that's where the high heart comes in. It's connecting to that higher self. And then we kind of lose worry when we're there more often. You've dropped down energetically when you start to worry or have anxiety. And so it's always interesting to me when I have a moment where I drop down. Yesterday, I misplaced my debit card. And my husband and I went out to go shopping to get stuff for vacation. And I went to pay and didn't have it. Now, I had another way to pay, but then I went through well, where did I leave it? Where did I put it? And oh no, what's going to happen? I had a few minutes of that. And thank goodness my husband doesn't go there with me. He just sort of, his response was, he didn't go, I was doing it mostly in my head. He was just sipping his water as I worked it out in my head. And then as soon as I let the energy go, then I had a clear sense of where I left it. And I was like, oh yeah, I left it there. And we all have, our phones, right? So I've got more than one account in the bank. I just swapped money from one account to another and used a different debit card. And I didn't even need to use it because I was able to do all my transactions without it, was what was really funny. But I got myself right into worry. And it was only momentary, but it took up a lot of bandwidth energetically. And I knew what was happening, and it still took me, probably 5 minutes to pull myself fully back out of it. But how often does it happen to us and we don't even realize it? And then we're so far from where we want to be that we can't really get back there. Does that make sense? So it's really, it can be a really difficult thing. So I know Robbie, sorry, I always call you that. Agree, as a mom, wife, giving yourself away. Thanks for helping understand where it lives, and it's okay to take it back. Yeah. It's not even so much taking it back. It's kind of like you need to go clean your energy closet, right? Because there's baggage in there that's not yours. And there's baggage in there that, you don't need to carry any longer. Old incidents, you don't have to keep spinning about it. And the heart is so sensitive to all of that. The heart is really important in keeping ourselves in a place of joy and a peace and calm. And when we can't access that energy, it can be really lonely. It can be really disconnected. And we can stay in the struggle energy. The survival body loves to struggle. Those lower three chakras love to struggle. The ego loves something to do. So it creates these mini battles. And whether the battles are outside of us or inside of us, that's where the ego likes to distract us. Because it's nervous if we spend time in a higher vibration that maybe we won't need it. But we do need our ego because that's the part of us that, reminds us to keep safe. It's like, you better not cross that road because a car is coming. That's a good thing for the ego to tell us, or hello, we're hungry, we need to eat. Good thing for the ego to tell us, and so we don't want to lose our ego. We just want our ego to be, report to us. One of the things that helps is if you've got a really noisy critic. The ego is chattering and saying negative stuff to you all the time. It's really working hard to keep you out of your joy. So I tell people to think of it as a separate being. Not that it's you, but it's this being that lives with you. And, give it a name, so that it's separate from you. So you're not the one believing it's you saying, I'm not worthy of love. It's Blanche going, you're not worthy of love. And you can go, I'm not listening to Blanche right this minute. Because Blanche and I, we're not on the same page today. And when you can get that little bit of like differentiation and separation between you and that critic part of you that judges not only you, but other people, then that is helpful to have it a little bit farther out. And it can still chatter, but I encourage mine to, it can say whatever it wants, but I'm going to check in with my heart first to make sure that that's true. So I hope that makes sense. Good morning, Natalie. Thanks for joining us. So with the layers of the heart and the auras around it, we really have the ability to release a lot of the things that pull us down. I keep hearing anytime that you have something that makes you feel bad, your heart has added another piece of baggage. So when you have that like heavy heart feeling, it's because all of these things that are around your heart energy have dropped down and they're clogging your clarity and they're clogging your ability to connect with your higher self, especially in a heart-centered way. We can sometimes connect with our higher self through our intellect, but that only makes room for more thought to come through and not for the fullness of unconditional love to come through. I hope that makes sense. So when we recognize that we've got baggage in our heart, and we all do. I mean, we all have something that's in there. It's fine if it doesn't weigh you down and it doesn't show up or impact your actions. But, if you're having physical symptoms, there's a lot of baggage. If you're having emotional symptoms, of sadness and grief or disappointment, then there's still the emotional baggage, the mental baggage, and the spiritual baggage pushing it down. If you're just spinning in thoughts of worthiness and deservedness, then that baggage can clear. And then you just kind of look at whether you trust and have faith and can let go of doubt. Because when we can do that, that's when we're in the fullness. That's when we can really step into our truth. And that's the thing, guys, our high heart and our heart chakra, that's where we're meant to speak our truth from, not just from our throat. We want our heart to speak our truth, not our ego. We want our heart to speak our truth. And so if the heart is filled with garbage, then all it's going to speak is garbage, right? So where is our truth in that? So what the Ancient One keeps expressing through the articles and through the healings or the teachings is that it's time for us to clean up our mess. And clean up the mess within your energy body, clean up the mess that you create in your environment, clean up the mess we've created on this planet. But it can start just inside of you, because when you start to clean up the energy that's out of balance inside of you, you're going to want everything around you to feel the same. And so one of the ways I get my energy flowing is I actually will do some cleaning. And when I mean cleaning, it's not like, yes, I'll scrub the toilets or whatever, but though I have somebody to do that for me, but it's more like I go through my closet and see what I don't like. It doesn't really fit, or I've worn it a lot and it's kind of stretched out or faded. And it's like, if I'm not going to wear it and love it, I get rid of it. And I start there, and then I go to like my desk and I get rid of old, broken pens or things that are kind of leaky, and just move them forward. Shred papers I don't need anymore, organize things, and it sends new blood and it sends new energy through. And then the next thing you're picking up, you're changing out, like, this year for the new year, one of the things I did to call new energy is I got rid of all my old towels and I got all new ones. And that might sound like, oh no, Survival Body goes, that's expensive. But it actually wasn't, because, for those of you who know the store Kohl's, they give cash, little like gift cards almost, when you spend a certain amount. And so before the holidays, you're doing all the shopping. Hopefully for them, they get excited when you do it there, and they give you like money to use for the future. Well, every Christmas, my mom gives me all of hers and I have mine. And then we see what I can manifest out of that. And so this year it manifested me. I got a dozen towels, and I got a dozen washcloths. And I think we got not as many hand towels because we don't use them as much. I think we got 4 of those. Free. Right? And it was like such good clearing, because they had the towel, and the towels, some of them were still pretty good. So those got donated to the local, shelter. And then the ones that were more ratty, those we took to the animal shelter, because they're always in need of that for bedding and stuff. So good tip to let that go there. So Kimberly's saying that you did the same thing with your towels. I know, right? It is good clearing, and it felt really good. And it feels nice and fresh to have brand new ones. And it shifted the whole energy in my bathroom. I ended up putting up a new piece of artwork in there. And I got a new bath mat too as part of that. And it just made the whole bathroom feel different. And so that was like an upgrade of energy. And those, when you do that, then everybody in the household feels that. So it sort of rippled out to, you know, people doing things in their rooms, or wanting to shift stuff around in the living room, in the dining room, you know, and moving out stuff that we didn't really want anymore, and giving it to somebody who'd be excited to have it, you know, or donating it so that somebody gets to find something new to love for them. So in the layers of the heart, you know, just kind of sum it up, is that, you know, we want to pay attention to whether we're having physical symptoms. That's when the first layer of the heart is compromised, the first energy layer of the heart chakra, which then impacts the physical heart. The second layer of the heart chakra holds all of the emotional baggage, the sadness, the grief, the anger, the shame, the blame, the guilt. Then the third layer holds all the belief systems, like, do you deserve love? Are you worthy? You know, are you good enough? All of those kind of things connect there. And then above that is the spiritual layer, and what clogs that is when we doubt and we don't trust. We don't trust that things will come out the way they're meant to. We don't trust the divine to be there for us, to help us through. And you know you're doing that when you're trying to control everything that happens in your environment. And coming from a space where I used to be the controller, I'll tell you, it doesn't work. You know, you try to control everything that you can in your environment, then you just create more things that are out of your control. So there you have it. And then when we don't have those blockages, then we can live in harmony with our higher heart, with the part of us that is connected with the empathy and the love energy, not only with other people, but with all of our planet and all the beings on our planet, with the universe, and just feeling in with the oneness, that we're not alone, that we're not separate, that we are one. So looking at where you are at various points in times can let you know, ooh, my heart energy, the aura around my heart is it's clogged, and it's time to take some action. So one of the things that can help with that, like as you know, I know some people will use rose quartz to help. Rose quartz, I find, calms the heart energy as it's filling you. I'm just sort of listening. There's like an but it fills you to what you believe about your truth. So you can't put the heart crystal like pink quartz. It's beautiful to help you heal, but you have to believe you can heal. The crystal can't shift your belief pattern. Does that make sense? And I do have on my website, on trinityhealingsanctuaries.com, there's actually a blend made for your heart chakra to help restore it to balance. As it restores it to balance, you will have an indication of what needs to clear, which is good, because then you can. And then if you have really strong difficulty with getting out, like if all 4 layers are really compressed and really having difficulty, the Mother Mary blend and the Archangel Raphael blend, they both connect you to unconditional love and invite your energy. The oils are training your energy system to do what you need to do. So it's not the oil per se that is doing it to you or for you. It's training your energy body how to receive what you need. And so all of those can help you if that's something that you need. So we're just going to take the last few minutes to do a quick connection to our heart and the layers of the heart so that you can experience, sense, or know which layer needs some loving support, right? Because we all need some. So you are going to want your arms and your legs uncrossed, your feet on the floor if possible. And if you're sitting, just make sure that your legs are stacked and not crossed, because we want the energy to flow fully through you. The healing energy can be quite strong, so we don't want it to get stuck anywhere. So take a couple of deep breaths, because that's been a lot of knowledge to put into your energy system. You will take what, really resonates with you, what you are ready to receive. That's what you'll hear and experience, and that's completely fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to make some of these clearing noises just to get our ball rolling. So we're going to call in the divine, however you perceive it, whether it's God, goddess, creator, oneness, all that is. And we ask the divine to surround and protect us in a bubble of infinite love and infinite light as we do this healing connection.
Right.
And we set the intention that this healing energy is for the good of all and harm to none, including ourselves, as I do before every broadcast.
Yeah.
And we're going to invite in our spiritual team to be present with us, our angels, our guides, our ancestors, our animal totems, all divine of the highest, fullest, and brightest vibration available to us. Even the star beings, ascending masters.
Yeah.
So we're going to invite the divine energy to come into the very center of our lower heart chakra. And just checking in for a moment to make sure that all 4 chambers are nice and wide open. And if not, sending healing and support to restore our physical heart into balance. Making sure that the connections to our lungs and all the bronchial tubes, that everything is open as fully and completely as it can be in this moment.
Yeah.
And even that spot between your shoulder blades and your back that may get tight from time to time, you want to send energy there. Just inviting the physical layer, the physical part of the heart, and the physical layer of the aura
Yeah.
to gently press up and lift away. And now connecting to the second layer of our heart aura, to the emotional layer, and just inviting any disappointment, sadness, grief, anger, shame that may be sitting in there. Anything that compresses your sense of self, self-worth. Just allowing a little more space in there and releasing anything old that no longer serves us.
Yeah.
We don't need to know what's releasing. We can just trust that something is leaving, giving us more space. And moving into the third layer around the heart and really accessing any beliefs that we have, the beliefs of deserving, of worthiness, and again, any shame or blame or guilt that we may be carrying, that threads between the emotional and the mental layers, but are separate. Just inviting anything that is ready to go to just gently release. Again, we don't have to know what it is. If it's old and we don't need it, it doesn't serve us, it can just gently dissolve.
Okay. Yeah.
And moving out into the spiritual layer, just checking out any places where we have doubt, we have trouble with trust, or even ways we might be afraid to speak our heart's truth.
Yeah.
And just breathing a little energy and connection in there. Now inviting our heart to reconnect with our sacred heart, with our heart connected with our higher self. And opening the pathways of communication so that your heart chakra, the lower heart chakra, can experience the momentary joy, peace, calm, serenity, and the beauty and the connectedness with others in a loving way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now just invite that energy to radiate throughout your whole energy system, restoring and balancing all your chakras through all your layers and all the dimensions. And just really take a moment of awareness.
Yeah.
And now thank your spiritual team for being there, guiding you, pointing out places to release and clear, allowing yourself to keep your heart nice and wide open as you bring yourself back into this moment.
Yeah.
Rub your feet on the floor if you need to, rub your hands together. So I invite you to take the opportunities to check in to see the layers and how you can access more love and more joy in your life. And much of it begins right in the heart. It's the bridge we don't want to avoid our other energy systems, but when we can hold our heart in peace, it is easier to genuinely learn how to release what else is going on in our life, in our past, to make room for a beautiful new future, a new way for us to move forward. So I hope you enjoyed that. And again, the article connected to this, where it's laid out in a very beautiful, simplistic way, is coming up in the February issue of Star Nations magazine. It'll be out on the 10th. And, I encourage you to continue to do that, if it felt like a good knowing for you. And I invite you to join us next tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, and we will do just a full healing, clearing meditation for your entire energy system. And you can set any intention on whatever you might need to work on to actually let it go. And it can be a belief that you want to let go. Like, I love when people work on the worthiness, right? Tina, your hands were tingling. Yeah, the heart connects to the palm chakras. So when we open up the heart to reach a higher, fuller vibration, then it activates a higher healing energy through our palms as well. Thank you guys. Thanks, Nashi. I'm glad you guys were enjoying that. So join me tomorrow night at 7 for Soul Connections, and I will also be pulling cards with divine messages. I am going to take next week off because, believe it or not, I'm going to take a vacation. And I'm not even bringing my computer with me. My inner child has been very clear. No work tools can come with me. So I will see you back here in 2 weeks for chakra sessions. And I'm sure we will do a rebroadcast so that you guys can tap back into some information. I'm sure Nashi will help me take care of that so you can have that. And I look forward to seeing some of you tomorrow night. And with that, guys, mwah, have a great one and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.